And I promised you all that we would have some medieval story time, and I've got some guests and company today. So I thought I would share a tale with them, and I'll share the same horrifying tale with you. So this is a story from Constantinople, actually from the 7th century. And so here is the synopsis. In the mid-7th century, Stephen, a deacon of Hagia Sophia, the great church of Constantinople, related how he was miraculously cured by Saint Artemios, whose shrine in the region of Oxea was famous for the treatment of male genital disorders. Brace yourselves, gentlemen. In my testicles, he said, I suffered a rupture. Whether from shouting acclamations or from a heavy weight, I cannot really say. This happened to me a short time before Heraclius of blessed memory died in the year 641, and out of shame I concealed myself for a considerable time, watching carefully for a chance to bathe alone in the small hours. At long last, I disclosed the misfortune to my parents, and after many treatments, oh how many, had been performed on me, finally, after taking counsel with them, I entrusted myself for surgery to the surgeons in the hospital of Samson. And I reclined in the hospital room near the entrance to the area devoted to eyes. Doesn't seem like the right body part, but never mind. After I had been treated all over for 3 nights and days with cold cauteries, surgery was performed on the 4th day. I will omit what horrible things I experienced while on my back. To sum up everything, I state that I actually despaired of life itself at the hands of the physicians. After God, entreated by the tears of my parents, restored my life to me, and after the scar from the incision and the cautery had healed, and just as I was believing that I was healthy, a short time later, the same condition recurred, and so I reverted to my former state. I had a plan to approach the holy martyr, as I had heard of his many great miracles. Still, I was unwilling to wait in the venerable church, feeling ashamed before friends and acquaintances to be seen by them in such a condition. But I frequently used to pass by, for at that time, he said, I was staying in the Oxea, and so I descended to the holy tomb of his precious relics, and I cast some of his holy blessing, meaning oil, on my testicles, hoping to procure a cure in this manner. And frequently I entreated him to deliver me from the troublesome condition. After descending to the holy tomb, I found the doors in front open, and I was astounded that they were open at such an hour. This was the doing of the martyr in his desire to pity me. Stretching out face down on the holy coffin, I straddled it, and thus contrived to rub the corner of the same holy tomb on the spot where I was ailing. And with tears, I spoke again to the martyr, O Saint Artemios, by God who has given you the gift of cures, no doctor on earth will ever touch me again. So if you please cure me, but if not, to your everlasting shame, I will live thus, without a cure, straddling your coffin. And after some days, I went to the bath in the quarter of Anthemios, the one called Livanon, to bathe by myself at dawn in order not to be seen by anyone. And entering the hot chamber, I noticed that I still had the injury. But upon exiting, I had no injury, and recognizing the act of kindness on the part of God and the martyr which had befallen me, in thanksgiving, I do now glorify them, proclaiming their deed of greatness throughout my whole life. And thus is this tale of how Stephen, a deacon of Hagia Sophia, teabagged a saint's tomb.
Santa Maria?
Yeah, yes. Ave Maria. There's some interesting things in here that, little details aside from the fact that apparently surgery on scrotal hernias was a common thing done in the Middle Ages, and people don't like to think that because you don't want to imagine the conditions under which such surgery might be conducted, although they did have analgesics, so you could at least numb the area. You couldn't necessarily anesthetize someone, although they might have figured out ether by this point, but you could at least numb the area.
Yeah. Well, he lived to tell about it.
He lived to tell about it, although, as he says, I had actually despaired of life itself. But all this bathing that he talks about happening on this, really regular basis, and he actually talks about, I waited for a chance to bathe alone in the small hours. Well, if you were at home bathing, you're always alone. So he's clearly not going home to bathe. He's talking about bathing in public bathhouses, right? Which apparently must have been open all hours, I guess, because no one was there in the small hours, but clearly he was bathing his poor torsed testicles or scrotal hernia or who knows. Ouch. Yeah, right. And there's some visuals that I'm not going to share, I think, with anyone. Should I share the visuals with our audience?
Sure. Can you guess what that is?
Right. So here is a 16th century Italian depiction of surgery conducted on a scrotal hernia. And there's the incision. He's upside down, notice. They've actually leaned it backwards. And I guess that might be to shift things back into place so they can rectify the hernia so there's nothing pressing down on it.
So the heart would be lower than...
And maybe it would reduce bleeding. Right. So yeah, I have a combat medic here. So, right. So maybe he's upside down to reduce the bleeding. Maybe also it might shift things back into place for the reparation of the scrotal hernia.
One of your guests is becoming uncomfortable.
But then there's this little table here. And at first, it was assumed that was extra parts. But it's not extra parts at all. This is a cautery table. So those are hot coals, and those are irons for cauterizing various parts of the wound and vessels and whatnot. So yeah, yes. So surgery at its best. Yep. Okay. Well, everyone, that was your brief medieval story time for the day. Thank you all for joining us today. Stay tuned for more randomly scheduled medieval story time. We have lots of fun to share with you from a medieval miscellany. It's a selection of fascinating texts. So stay tuned next time for the tale of the ugliest foot in the kingdom. Okay. Thank you all for watching, everyone. Until next time, stay creative.
I'll help you put these cheeses back.
I want to order that book.
It is a great